Hi everyone, I'm Whitney and I post sewing and crafting tutorials here on my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a Scrappy Chevron mini quilt from start to finish. So I am doing something new and I'm including some links in the description box below for the specific products that I use in the video, and that way if you want to check them out and see more about those specific items, then you can just click the link and see that. But without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. This specific design incorporates some foundation piecing, so you need to start by cutting 4 rectangles of paper measuring 5 by 22 inches. I'm using some lightweight brown packing paper, but you can definitely use wrapping paper or newspaper or just whatever kind of paper that you have on hand. Next, gather your scraps and cut them into strips of varying sizes, at least 1 inch wide. Use the sketch shown here to know which way your angles need to go and begin your paper piecing. It helps to pin the first set in place and sew the right sides together pair onto the paper. Open it up and iron. Then lay the next piece on right sides together and sew to attach. Open and iron, then repeat. Each time, make sure you have enough excess off the edge that when flipped open, the fabric covers the paper completely. Make sure to use a shorter stitch length so that there's more perforation holes in the paper, so it'll make the tearing easier. Repeat until the entire rectangle of paper is covered. Then trim off all the excess fabric. Repeat with the other 3 rectangles, alternating the angle for each block so they create a chevron when lined up together. Once they are all pieced, it is time to tear the paper away. I've found it easiest to put one finger on the stitches so they aren't damaged and tear away with the other hand. It also helps if you backstitched right at the paper edges when sewing before. Lay the sections back out and start piecing them together. Place the first 2 right sides together and sew to attach. Open and iron flat, then add the next. I used about a 3/8 or 1/2 inch seam allowance for this part, just in case the ends of any of my seams from before had come loose. That way I know they are nice and secure now. Now that the top is together, it's time to make the quilt sandwich. I'm using this warm and natural batting I already had in the craft size. It can be cut down to make 2 doll quilts and have a little left over for some smaller projects. First, lay the backing right sides down, then the batting on top. These should both be larger than the quilt top. Then lay it right sides up on top. The layers need to be basted together for quilting. The easiest way is with basting spray, and this is the particular one that I used. Shake the can and spray a generous amount onto the batting. Lay the top on and carefully smooth to make sure there aren't any wrinkles in it. Then repeat to add the backing. Now it's time to quilt. I decided to hand quilt mine using 2 strands of embroidery floss at a time. I found this really pretty variegated floss to use. I played around with the hand quilting and ended up liking the larger stitches the best. I quilted along each long seam line and through each polka dot piece. After you're done quilting, trim up the excess backing and batting and make sure the quilt is square. Now it's time for the binding. I made my own continuous bias binding. There's a separate video tutorial for that. As soon as it's posted, it will be available in the information icon in the upper corner of the screen. Open the binding up and line it up with the quilt edge. Sew along the fold line. Make sure to leave the first few inches unsewn so the other end can be joined to it later. When you get a 1/2 inch from the corner, sew off at an angle as shown. Then fold the bias tape at an angle Then fold back the direction it needs to go, making sure the fold lines up with the quilt edge. Then continue sewing along the fold down the side until the next corner. Stop a few inches from where you started to join the ends and trim away any excess binding. Then sew that section down. As you can see, we created a nice looking corner when flipped open. Bring the bias tape around to the back and finish off with either hand sewing, or you can do some stitch in the ditch machine sewing like I did. And there you have it. I am in love with this mini quilt. It could easily be made smaller for a mug rug, or you could make it bigger so it could be a baby quilt, and obviously you can use any colors that you want. Over on WhitneySews.com, there's a corresponding post with some extra details and information that I couldn't fit into this video, and that link and the product links that I mentioned before are all down in the description box below this video. Make sure to come back next Wednesday for a new tutorial, and until then, happy sewing. Bye!